And I am one of the founders of the Kindling Trust. And today we put an event called Making Food Fair, and it was our 16th Feeding Manchester networking event, which is a network of food practitioners from growers to grocers to activists to campaigners and community groups. Today's event was basically about trying to look at poverty throughout the food system. So the problems with access to food, but also the problems if you're a producer of being able to make a viable living out of producing sustainable food. And the reason that we put on this event was because it is an issue that comes up again and again of how do you deal with the immediate issues, very immediate issues of food poverty, and yet at the same time knowing that producers don't get paid enough for the work that they do, and trying to look at how you bring those two things together and how do you ever reconcile those two things of access to food but making sure it's sustainable in the long term.
I'm a researcher at the Thomas Coram Research Unit at the Institute of Education, University of London. I'm a social anthropologist by background and I do research on families and food. I'm currently leading a project, a European funded project on families, food and poverty in 3 countries, Portugal, the UK and Norway. And I've come today just to give a bit of an overview of food and poverty in the UK, to introduce some of the really important recent research that's been done on the subject and look at a little bit of the context, why people are in poverty now, what their experiences.
I'm from Norwich, Scotland. I'm down here from Edinburgh for the day, and what I was talking about mostly today was the fact we need to see food poverty as a government responsibility. It's responsibility of the state to feed its people well, but we also need to see it as part of a wider network of problems or challenges in the food system, and we have to solve them all at once. So we have to look at food insecurity and hunger, but we have to look at that alongside climate change, alongside biodiversity, alongside public health, alongside creating sustainable livelihoods in the food system and the food sector. We can build a much better food system, a food system that does all those things well, but we have to start again with our design, and we're not going to get there simply by tinkering with the existing model. There are lots of opportunities in the next few years to do that as world governments start to realise that the food problem isn't going to go away and isn't going to be solved by the market alone.
I'm Lynn Collins and I'm the Regional Secretary of the TUC here in the North West, and I'm here today because trade unionists are really interested in working with other organisations to tackle issues both of food poverty and poverty for those who work in the food industries. We've highlighted today some of the issues for those who work in the industries, where we've seen casualisation of their work, contracting out of their work, massive numbers of people on 0 hours contracts with no guaranteed work, hardly any employers who pay at the living wage, and the national minimum wage being seen as a maximum in the sector. So all of those issues are really important for those who work in the sector, but we also see lots of people in work now having to rely on food banks and being unable to make ends meet from one month to the next. So the issues around poverty and around food poverty are important to us as well. And they were highlighted to us by some of our teaching unions who said that they found that children were coming to school hungry and not able to concentrate. So for trade unions, there's lots of reasons why these issues are important, but we'll never do anything on our own. We have to go out and work with other organisations, like the organisations who are here today. So today's as much about networking and talking about the issues and working out how we can work together.
From Sustain, which is the Alliance for Better Food and Farming. We are just embarking on some more work on food poverty, having worked on it for the last few years, since we started in 1999, and trying a different approach, more of a campaign approach to food poverty, particularly at a local level, and through at a London level, but also through sustainable food cities, looking at how we can focus beyond the food bank. So there's been a lot of attention on the food bank and emergency provision, but what about the longer term problems related to food poverty? How can we tackle those? And I think one area that we're quite keen on focusing on, what's the public sector responsibility around tackling food poverty? Well, certainly providing citizens with food should be a primary responsibility, but how does that actually unfold in the current responsibilities? So things like free school meal uptake, community meals. We're looking at how can we find those metrics that create a standard of a meaningful standard of good practice that some cities, towns, local authorities are already achieving, and saying and celebrating those who are already achieving it, but also trying to get more places to actually reach that. So we are looking to do this campaign 2015, and we really hope that Greater Manchester can get involved and sign up to this pledge, this commitment to tackle food poverty across those sorts of themes. Yeah.
What you're doing and why you do it, that would be amazing. And what we aim to do over the course of the next, however long it takes us, is set up Manchester's first waste food cafe. So it would be a cafe that would be open to anyone and everyone, serving only food that would otherwise go to waste. Manchester do in the context of everything we've heard today to create longer term solutions to address poverty throughout the food system. And what we'd like is for people to be thinking about practical actions, ways of working together, so it feels like there's lots of different groups and projects and people in this room, so actions, ways of working together, and also policy proposals, so saying, you know, we're all doing a lot of stuff, what would make it easier for us to do this better and to have a greater impact.